We all know there's an old proverb, charity begins at home. This actually holds true in the education sector, but in a different way. If we don't start innovation in teaching, in learning and development, and start curiosity among the students from the college time itself, then how can we expect them to be leading innovators in the future? Ladies and gentlemen, in this session, Edu-novate, innovation in education for education sector transformation, we have eminent speakers who will talk about what and how are the changes that can be infused in the modern curriculum, focused on talent building and many more. I would like to introduce our panelists. We have Kirti Seth, CEO, IT-ITES Sector Skill Council, NASSCOM, a business leader with over 30 years of rich experience in entrepreneurship, management, and driving change. Kirti is currently with NASSCOM as CEO for the IT-ITES Sector Skills Council. Prior to this, she was heading the prestigious Future Skills Prime Project, a digital skilling initiative that is in partnership between the Government of India and NASSCOM. In her last avatar in the corporate world, she was the CEO of the joint venture between Genpact and NIIT called NIIT Uniqua, a training organization focused on the IT-ITES sector. Our next panelist, Dr. Vinnie Jauhari, Director, Education Advocacy and Skills Lead at Microsoft India. She is responsible for evangelizing education initiatives at Microsoft. She leads and manages strategic engagements in higher education and K-12, and also works on policy issues related to education. She works on several strategic engagements with state governments and key institutions, driving impact around institution excellence, faculty development, and student readiness for future. The work spans around programmatically managing professional development, curriculum development, certifications, and explorations around gamification of education. Her contributions have won her recognition across several years at Microsoft, such as the Greg Butler Award in the Worldwide Team for the year 2014-15, Award for Compliance and Business Contribution in the year 2015-16, the Greenest Subsidiary for Evangelism recognition for 2016-17, Brand Evangelist Award from Public Sector for 2016-17, Making a Difference Award for AI Digital Labs in 2019. Our next panelist, Sundara Rajan, founder and director, Thomas Assessments India and Market Search India, serial entrepreneur with multiple successful and growing companies in market research, equity research, business consulting, leadership development, software services, and behavioral assessment tools. An active investor in new ideas, products, and services across the globe. Mentor to startups. Each of these ventures has created value in their own sphere by guiding a number of American and European companies to understand Indian consumers, evaluate the attractiveness of Indian market for their products and services, and help them enter the Indian market successfully, and continue to assist these companies in enhancing their brand and market share. Our next panelist is Sahil Aggarwal, co-founder and CEO, Rishihood University. Sahil Aggarwal is a social entrepreneur and educationist. He is the co-founder of Rishihood University and Rajtam School of Public Leadership. He is a trustee and board member at Gateway Education, Sonipat. Sahil has a BTech degree in mechanical engineering from IIT Delhi. During his graduation days, he led and volunteered for several activities like policy discussions, social service, spirituality, voter awareness, and was also active with music and drama societies. He studied MA Diplomacy at Jindal Global Universities. His master's thesis revolved around performance management in urban local governance in India. He has also been a visiting scholar for urban governance at Indiana University, Bloomington in the United States of America. He has co-authored a book on public policy, co-designed a card game on politics, and keeps writing for print and digital publications. The session is moderated by Prabhu Ram, Head Industry Intelligence Group at CyberMedia Research. As Head Industry Intelligence Group at CMR, Prabhu Ram advises industry participants on the dynamic technology market in India and other Asian geographies through proprietary and custom technology research, cutting across technology domains. Prabhu oversees an analyst team that tracks smartphones, data cards, tablets, storage, display, wearables, and smart homes. Prabhu regularly undertakes both supply and demand side research projects for the technology industry, providing insights and advice from technology to market, competitive intelligence, and go-to-market perspectives. He has over 16 years of broad-ranging executive experience at consulting and research companies across Western Europe and India on technology prospecting, technology management, and technology transfer. Over to you, Prabhu.
My name is Prabhu Ram. I head the Industry Intelligence Group at CyberMedia Research. We are partners to CyberMedia, and part of the CyberMedia Group. For many years now, we have been running the T-School research, as part of our EduTech advisory. Today, we have an Eminent panel, and we will be discussing innovation in technical education. Just to set the background, since the pandemic began, there has been an acceleration in technology adoption and deployment at T-schools. And our research over the last many years has shown that the tailwinds are very strong as far as blended and virtual education goes. The infrastructure upgradation is ongoing, and there is a transformation at place. And what does that have in terms of implications while the technology is getting upgraded? How does that innovation come about in all aspects, from skilling to actual imparting of technical education? And how do you make an industry-ready skill force as such? To discuss all of that, we have Dr. Vinnie Jauhari. She is Director, Education, Advocacy, and Skills Lead at Microsoft. Very warm welcome to you, ma'am. We have Kirti Seth. She is CEO, IT-ITES Sector Skill Council at NASSCOM. Warm welcome to you as well, Kirti. We have Sundara Rajan. He is founder and director at Thomas Assessments India and Market Search. A very warm welcome to you, Sundar. And we have Mr. Sahil Aggarwal. He's the co-founder and CEO at Rishihood University. So very warm welcome to all of you. And just to kickstart, Vinnie, if we can have you to talk about what I mentioned, the tailwinds that are there for technical education and that role that technology is playing. Microsoft has been at the forefront of that. So if you could have your opening remarks, and then we could proceed. Yeah.
Good afternoon to all of you, and to share my point of view, there is an unprecedented opportunity for higher education for change, and there are several trends that can be witnessed. Institutes have begun to embrace hybrid learning and adapting to the new landscape on account of the pandemic. There is also a stronger realization amongst the institutes to be aligned with industry aspirations and requirements. The new education policy 2020 has also opened new doors of opportunities for the institutes and students to be more flexible with the entry and exit criteria, and also get credit for courses that are offered beyond their universities or institutes. There is also a very strong need felt for upskilling the faculty and also embracing industry relevant curriculum in the courses that are offered at undergraduate and postgraduate programs, especially in the realm of cloud, virtual reality, data analytics, artificial intelligence. And we have seen more willingness for universities and institutes to partner with industry and explore the different possibilities. However, we have also witnessed that there is a struggle in institutions to understand how to leverage technology meaningfully beyond just conducting the online classes, and leverage technology for better governance, to provide more secure experiences, and leverage the flexibility to offer credits for industry credentialing as well. Research is another area that institutes are trying to tinker with and see how they can have access to more resources and infrastructure. So overall, a great opportunity for partnerships. I'll just stop here.
Sure. And Kirti, that's a very great opening for you as well to come in, with all of your experience in entrepreneurship management, and now you are having that ringside view at NASSCOM. How do you look at, revolutionizing engineering education as such, and how can we get students, future ready as such, from a skills point of view?
So I think Vinnie really called it out in terms of what all is going on. There's a lot, ton of stuff going on, but yet we see that the biggest concern today for industry leaders is the shortage of talent. Jobs are growing at 20% a year, and from what I'm hearing, salaries are growing even faster, but yet there aren't enough people to fill those vacancies. So it's quite clear that something much more needs to be done in technical education. And there's a lot going on, and what Vinnie's listed out actually was part of the stuff that I was going to say, but no prizes for that, because I think all of us are pretty much saying the same thing because we're seeing it. So it's no surprise that I would say exactly what she's saying. But I would say that we have over 1,000 universities in India. We have about more than 50,000 colleges. So what we are talking about of in the colleges and institutions and in universities leveraging all these changes, that still is not the majority. And if we are going to look at transformation, it has to be at a majority level. It can't be the chosen few who do it. So clearly something needs to be done. And I know we are talking about technical education. And I know that I'm sure all of you will agree with me that typically the feedback that has always come about this lack of industry alignment has been practical knowledge is not there, or learnability is not there, or lack of communication skills. And actually the worst of the lot, which is not really connected to technical in any way, is that what they're supposed to know, they don't know enough of. So the fundamental knowledge is only not there of what you were supposed to study. So I think those are generic issues in education, which covers technical education too. But I do want to pick up, one of the things which I don't know whether it's getting enough visibility. It's communication. I know we're talking about STEM education, and STEM people typically, they don't think of communication as an important skill. It's even called a soft skill. And sometimes I think it's just tolerated that, okay, I also have to do this finishing school type of course. But, this was all fine till this digital tsunami has hit us, because now the situation has changed completely, because much of what we as humans are supposed to do now, the machines will do if they're not doing it already. And we have to learn to work with machines rather than as machines, meaning like even, low code, no code means even coding doesn't have to be done by you anymore. So when we talk about technical skills, we need to actually think about how we will work with machines, and that's where communication becomes really, really important. Because if you can't express an opinion, if you can't persuade, or you can't influence or explain, your brilliance will remain hidden. The solution that you want to present will not be understood, and that less talented guy who you always thought was really very middling in his abilities, but he runs away because he runs away with the prize because his presentation was more snazzy. But frankly, presentation does matter. And today, when we are working, when people who are studying technical courses, their solutions and their requirements, they become more complex. They have to work with multiple technologies, multiple domains, so many different, multiple countries, collaborations, the kind of people that you have to work with. So if you can't do that, then all that you know doesn't work. And again, I think this is a data point we all know, that most students get rejected not because of their technical skills, they get rejected because of their communication skills. So communication in the context of technical education is so important, but that's where I think we really need to catch up, and that's where the world actually leaves us behind. because we all talk about, our education system vis-a-vis the Americans, and average American doesn't know as much as the average Indian does. But you know what? When the average American talks, he just is able to present his point of view in so much, better way. Why not us? Why not us? So I think that would be my, feedback or advice to the technical education, people thinking about technical education, that we need to make these skills of collaboration, of communication, of learnability really up there.
Yeah. So again, that brings us to Mr. Rajan. You have all the tools and involved in the assessment as such. How do you see all of this? When the industry is looking for talent, what's that needs to be done? What's your perspective as such?
Yeah, I resonate with Kirti when it comes to some of the numbers that look at the gross level extremely large, but when you try to select a person, you find that it actually shrinks to about 1/6 of what the numbers that was shown. The real issue, as I see, is in two parts. There is I think the pandemic has accelerated the gap much more, because the curriculum that the technical education system in India, except for the top 20, the rest, I think they are probably a couple of, maybe it has become 5 years behind what the industry is seeking. Mm-hmm. So that's the first gap that you have. The second gap is very often the engineering colleges and the technological colleges try to instill a pride only in the technology part, whereas what Kirti said is that unless your knowledge is showcased or communicated to the rest of the world who are the consumers of your technology, or clients for you, or users for you, you actually are like a ship passing in the night. Nobody notices you. So this is an area, and it actually leads to certain other issues when they go beyond the third year of their working life. The first couple of years, you may probably remain a programmer or a coder or a tester. But the minute you step up to lead a team, you have to be able to communicate your expectations from each of the people reporting to you. And you also have to communicate back to the consumer, your internal customer, or an external customer, what is happening and what are the challenges that you face. When you are not able to express your thoughts very clearly, coherently, and you are not able to build bridges between the people who create the solution and the people who consume the solution, you are going to have a gap, and that is when you break. And that is when the attrition starts kicking in, and you start floundering after that for a long time. And the blame comes back on to people saying that you are always searching for a new job. In reality, probably you have got into a job which is not suitable for you. So again, connecting back to Kirti's point on communication, this is something that needs to be systematically taught to people in the engineering colleges, that you need to be able to communicate and interact with people effectively. You don't have to be an orator, but you need to be able to communicate your thoughts very clearly and in such a way that people understand. The second part that we notice, I think the technology for the technology's sake, I think that part is gone, that period is gone. You now have to connect with who are the user industries and what is their expectation. If you are able to apply the knowledge into various areas that India has as challenges, be it agriculture, be it logistics, be it education, somehow we see that very often the pride of the technological institutions tends to be only on the silo of technology. And if they get an opportunity to work on real life projects and make the curriculum in such a way that at least 6 months you spend on a real life project, anywhere, it could be any project, you probably will find engineers who are coming out who are much more usable to the industry.
I got you. Sahil, from an educator perspective, given what all that you heard so far, so what's that really requires attention? What can educators and learning and development experts do and implement, keeping in view all that has been said?
Sure. Thank you. Thanks so much, Prabhu. So while I broadly agree with whatever has been said, I'll add my perspective as an educator. So when I look at this topic of education sector transformation, for me, more than the sector itself being transformed, it means what kind of transformation can education create in the life of student. For me, that would be transformation as an educator. And that transformation in the student, how can that create further transformation in the society for the better? So, yeah. So how do we do that? I mean, mostly when we look at transformation, we're looking at technology or resources or methodologies. I would say that they are means to the transformation. They're not the end of transformation. Just a small example of, let's say, 2000 years ago, paper was invented. For the first time, we had paper on earth. And paper is a very interesting technology to be used in education. For the first time, knowledge could be stored, preserved, taken from a school to a home, referred to. So all that what we are trying to do today with digital, with on demand, with anywhere, anytime, from anyone kind of a learning, paper enabled the same thing. But that did not mean that, okay, let's now just focus on getting paper to the classroom, right? So when we look at education sector transformation, we should not look at the means. We should look at the end of how can that transformation become a transformation in the life of a student. And here I agree with what Rajanji was saying. So how do we, our fundamental principle is that if we ignite curiosity in the student, they would pick up the skills, for example, the skill of collaboration, for example, the skill of communication, which Kirtiji pointed out very nicely. I think what is missing is that the student is not curious enough to pick up those skills. They don't know why they should pick up those skills. So what enables this curiosity, to my mind, it is developing a sense of purpose. If we can cultivate that sense of purpose in the student, that whatever I learn, it will help in solving some problem, either for me or for the people around me or for my country or for the world. And what Rajanji was saying, I think it's very interesting here, because we should be able to help the student apply their learning to that real life problem. There are so many large questions that the world is facing, questions of ecology, economy, technology, family, loneliness, well-being, healthcare, so on and so forth. And these are very big questions on which any young talent can work on. So unless we show them the path that whatever you are learning or you are about to learn can actually enable you to solve these big questions, I think we will not be able to excite the students to be curious enough. But once we have ignited that spark of curiosity, I think we'll just have to be an enabler for the student to go out in the world and pick up those skills. So when I look at it as an educator, I would suggest that we move from giving knowledge frame of mind to an enabling learning frame of mind. I think that will solve a lot of problems.
And I get what you're saying, and thank you for setting that context. Dr. Jauhari, if I can come back to you, again from the point of view of all the technology trends that are currently there, including cloud as such. How do you see infrastructure upgradation happening? What's that Microsoft is doing today, to make that change happen? Because when we look at that infrastructure, that's the foundation for all of the other innovations we are talking about to transform the sector. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So our attention, the focus of all our efforts is the learner, is the student, and to make the student future ready, all of the forces have to come together. So technology and infrastructure does lay great foundations for a lot of innovations to happen, both at the institutional level as well as individual excellence as well. So technology can be leveraged to drive pedagogical innovation. So sitting in the classroom, the teacher can make limitless possibilities for students to learn, collaborate with the finest minds in the world, collaborate on collaborative projects, comparative projects across the globe. So pedagogical innovation is one such aspect that can drive teaching and learning, exposure to gamified learning experiences where students create knowledge rather than become rather passive recipients of knowledge. So things like Minecraft in education create great exposure to coding and learning in multiple ways which are beyond conventional education. The second key piece is the infrastructure bit that you brought up. So virtual labs are possible. The institute doesn't have to invest in redundant infrastructure or legacy systems. You can have cloud labs that can be set up remotely. You can have access to software that is possible in virtual labs, and you pay as per use as well. So institutes, very ordinary systems, through very ordinary devices, you can have access to state-of-art labs and can work. The third dimension is mentorship for students. It's just like Kirti and Sundar talked about the 21st century skills to be imbibed, collaboration, learning to value diversity. Those possibilities today, career mentorship is possible through online methods. Microsoft offers something called as Career Coach through LinkedIn, where the app gets integrated with Teams and students can create their CVs, they can get mentored across multiple career areas by alumni or leading professionals across the world, and can have customized experiences for choosing careers that matter to them. I think it's an unprecedented opportunity to get physically people on board in an institute, or inviting them is very arduous task. But if you can leverage tech and use these resources, you can get that mentorship across the world. GitHub, for example, provides online internships. It makes possible students working with different industry experts to work on industry projects as well. So rather than work on, just writing essays or doing conventional projects, technology offers unprecedented experience to try your hands in new areas, get mentored by experts. So overall, I would say, there is this huge opportunity to ramp up infrastructure, to create connected experiences, to get insights and ensure better governance in the institutes through intelligently leveraging tech.
And that's something which our research at CMR or CyberMedia Research has pointed out what the pandemic has done. One of the positive uptakes of the pandemic has been that access to quality education, that availability, accessibility, and affordability, that has really helped bridge that digital divide as such. And Kirti, when you talk about communication and all of that, which you mentioned before, if I were to ask you, given that unprecedented opportunity now that students anywhere have, what more can be done to ensure that this positive uptick can continue going forward? This more momentum can be maintained as such.
So, what more can we do is a big question, but I just wanted to really pick up from what Vinnie said. It was something that I had read recently. There's this gentleman who is the CEO of the Toyota Research Institute. The name was Jill Pratt. And so he said that, the current state of automation in the world is a Cambrian explosion. He made the statement for robotics, but I think the idea stretches to everything technical, which is what you're saying, Prabhu, and what Vinnie is saying, that today, infrastructure is available and virtual labs are available. So what is this Cambrian explosion? And any of you who remember your evolution theory, I did not, I had to look it up. But he said that the Cambrian explosion was the point in which about 500 million years ago, where life on Earth is, as it exists today, appeared. So almost all the body types that are present on our planet today can trace their origins to that burst of evolution. So something similar is happening in the applicability of machines in our world, where this confluence of data, confluence of algorithms, networks, cloud, and exponential improvements in hardware have resulted in a situation that, there is just no limit to what technology can do, what students can do. And consequently, this means that we have to develop the capability to dance this dance. Dance being data, D for data, A for algorithms, N for network, C for cloud, E for exponential increase in hardware, improvement in hardware. I didn't invent this acronym. I read it in a book, and I just thought it just captured so beautifully what I wanted to say. So now, how does our technical education stack up to this need, to this dance? Because barriers of entry have completely melted. If you as an individual, if you're highly motivated, you have the computing power, the storage, whatever knowledge that you need. Earlier, all this knowledge and infrastructure used to be available in big R&D labs or in some giant universities or libraries. But today it's on our desktop, it's in our, it's available very cheap on the cloud. You can buy storage, and all the knowledge we want is on our fingertips from Google. So now the question you have to ask yourself is, so what, anybody can use it and do something with it. So are we preparing our students to work, to be in a world like this, where technical education or formal education really has to establish its value to this learner? Because today there's just so much available out there. And that thing, I think Sahil alluded to it a little bit as an enabler. Have we realized as educators, as faculty, as skills providers, that the world is completely transformed? This, old age thing of giving curriculum to someone, read this book and read this PDF and, mug this code up. Nobody wants to do that anymore. Why should they? Because the world is available on my computer. I can do all the things that any kid who's writing these super apps. I mean, we have unicorns coming every week in India today. Where are they coming from? They're coming from this. And they are not any geniuses over. They didn't do any great degrees from any great, I stand corrected. Most of them are from IITs. So I guess they did learn something. But that tells us something, right? That the IITs are producing people like this. But what about the rest? So that's what we need to do. We need to really think completely different of how the world is out there. Our students are digital natives, but our institutions, are they leveraging the technology that is available, that we referred to? It's available to anyone. But what are they doing about it? So if you ask me, what do we have to do? This is what we have to do. We have to live the digital life, learn the digital life, because the future is digital. And if we don't use it, then it's just a very tragically lost opportunity.
I'd like to bring Sahil here, because that was a very interesting point, So how do schools make that leap forward, given that there is that digital opportunity now, students, including my own kids and wherever I see, that it's a level playing ground as such, and there is no barrier anymore is the way I look at it. And that might be a very optimistic view. But how can schools leapfrog now to take this positive tailwind forward as such, from the pandemic? Sahil?
Thank you. I think a serious reflection and review is required in our own minds at what is our role, because our role has changed now. Education system, for so many decades, played the role of providing information. Now we don't need to do that, and when we do that, the students are getting better, more updated, dynamic information from somewhere else. So I think unless we have a major mindset shift that now we are not information providers, we're just there to mentor the students. So I think that's the change. That's the difference, that the quality of education is visible to us when Kirti ji says IIT versus other institutions. I think that's where the learning experience comes into the picture, where a lot of institutions are delivering a certain curriculum. We have now moved to an age where students can design their curriculum, and they can decide what they want to study, from whom they want to study, when they want to study, how they want to apply it, what kind of jobs they want to get. This entire thing, which earlier was in the hands of an institution or of a faculty, that control is gone. So we'll have to very honestly accept it and then repurpose ourselves. Only then we will be able to add any significant value to the life of a student. The way we look at it, at our university, and the way personally I look at it, is that our role fundamentally should have been and is to cultivate this sense of purpose in the student. The student has the means, but unless the student knows where and how to utilize those means to reach somewhere, the infrastructure is useless, or maybe just so confusing, so perplexing for any student. So what we need to do is we need to just have them relaxed and have them slow down and say that this is the possible path forward, and we are here to guide you, to mentor you, to facilitate you, and this is the entire place where information is available for you to learn and to grow in your life. I think that kind of repurpose of institutions is very important.
Mr. Rajan, in the context of all of this, how do you look at assessments? Do you see a shift happening there as well?
I will first connect with what Mr. Sahil said. One of the things that educators can do, education institutions can do, is to understand each student has his or her own aspirations, and they also have their own way of doing things. Very often we notice at the institution level, there is a pressure to ensure that as many people get placed as possible, and hence whatever offers that come, people do pick it up because that also brings certain value to the institution. If you can connect, like the way Mr. Sahil mentioned, that the job of the educator is to kindle the curiosity and enhance the capability of the person. After that, allow them to find what is it that they want to do and provide them the direction. In that, in fact, many of the assessments that we do actually focus on what kind of behaviors these people have, and because certain behaviors naturally lend you towards certain kind of roles in an organization or as an entrepreneur. That's the work that we have been doing with many of the institutions where we help students to understand what is the path that could actually help them to maximize their knowledge and skill sets. Because behaviorally, somebody is suited to be a coder, behaviorally, somebody is suited to be a project head, and behaviorally, somebody is suited to become an entrepreneur. It is not to say that you cannot switch these roles, but it is like, a fish will take the water faster, but a human being will have to learn to swim in order to be a good swimmer, as good a swimmer as a fish. So this is something that we have been doing, and many of the education institutions have also realized that there is no point in trying to use a cookie-cutter approach for sending people to one particular role. Hence, they have been focusing on how can each individual student get the best out of himself or herself.
Vinnie, if you can have your thoughts in terms of all of these, just-in-time educations and all, which help these kind of pathways possible for students, to kindle the curiosity and learn machine learning or cloud and all of that on the go. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a huge opportunity out there to build up competencies in the new areas like cloud, artificial intelligence, analytics, DevOps, in all these new emerging areas and technologies. Microsoft has come out with MS Learn, a place where educators and students can have sessions on demand. There are more than 3,000 courses that are available. And anybody, no matter whether one is a teacher, whether one is a developer, scientist, no matter which background one comes from, if you have choose areas of interest and put in your what is the level of competence that you currently have, there are customized pathways for learning that gets generated. And you can do these courses at your own pace, earn badges that you can amplify on the social media as well. And if you want to take certification, then there is secure certification possible. Likewise, LinkedIn offers more than 16,000 courses. And these courses are lined with multiple career paths or career roles that are being posted by employers. And interview mentorship is also available for them. There are institutional ways of support in a programmatic manner, where there could be formal, sessions taken up with student community, and the content is available online. And also sessions on demand are available. Students can become ambassadors. Teachers, if they want to teach these new courses in their classrooms, they have access to teaching materials. They can get certification support as well. So I think all those obstacles that come in the way of acquiring new knowledge have been thought through, and support is being extended. In fact, Microsoft has partnered with NESCOM to work on the future skills areas. In fact, we have partnered Microsoft, AICT, NASCOM, EY are working together to provide mentorship as well, not just do online courses, but also do real life projects and then work towards employability charter as well together.
Hey, thanks for that. So the one key thing which I'm taking away right now is that, the opportunities are limitless, as far as continuing education or technical education in itself. What I would love to do in the interest of time, if I can start with you, Sahil, how do you look at the future? When we talk about transformation, where do we see ourselves as a nation? What are your personal views as an educator? We can start from you.
No, I think we are at a very amazing situation. Corona, the digital transformation, because of that, the introspection on education system because of that, and simultaneously the coming of the new national education policy, it has created a very interesting confluence for India as a nation. I think the opportunity is right there in front of us. I don't think the generations before us had this opportunity. So what we can make the maximum use of is to create this transformative experience in the life of students. And I agree with what others said, that we have to really, as educators, we have to identify that these are the gaps that are there in the industry. We, as educators, we have to collaborate much strongly with the industry leaders and then enable learning journeys for our student. Thankfully, now the policy enables that. Earlier, it was a cookie cutter approach in education. Now the policy is much more open and flexible for creating learning journeys. So I see this very positively.
Mr. Rajan, how do you see the future? Closing statements from all of you. So you go first now.
I see India on the cusp of a dramatic forward change, because I think as an IT superpower, I'm using this word carefully but I think we can rightfully claim that we probably have the largest role possible in the world to make the transformation across the world. And that probably will bring in tremendous dividends for the current generation and future generations. And as a country, I think we are on the cusp of a dramatic forward growth. I'm sure that we will make it there.
Kirti, from a skills point of view, how do you see the future, with all that's available now, how positive are you about the future, your views?
Very positive, very optimistic, because I've been, as Vinnie mentioned, I lead the Future Skills Prime initiative, and that's a collaboration, that's a partnership between the Ministry of IT and NASCOM. NASCOM is the proxy for the IT industry. So here is a public-private partnership between government and industry. And I am just blown away by the enthusiasm with which the government folks approach it, with which our regulator, the NCVT is a new regulator for vocational education, and the way they are thinking about it. So we have a very favorable regulatory environment. And typically in the past, whenever someone has complained about the state of education in our country, they've always blamed it on the regulation. And they have said that all this just like, it constrains us and it ties us up and we don't have the freedom and we can't do this and we can't do that. You know what? Everything is out of the window now. So now there are no excuses left. So if I were to say that what are my concluding remarks, I would say resources are available, regulatory framework is favorable, industry is falling over itself to help academia and schools. You have Vinnie sitting there. If you sit with her for like 3 hours also, she will not finish telling you all the work that they are doing in the education space. And every company is doing that. So the support is available. So now we need the educators to step up, because you have the colleges, you have the students, they are at 18 years of age, 19 years of age, so malleable. You can either show them the vision, you can either be the enabler, you can either be the support that they need, because they need a lot of guidance. Our students come, let's not think of you and me, our students come from so many small places. They need that guidance, they need that exposure. So now it's up to you, to the educators, to say we have everything in place. Sahil, again, I come back to you. We need a shift in the mindset. And we need to say, yes, our students are digital natives, our lives, even the teachers' lives are digital. So why aren't you using technology, leveraging digital, opening up the world for our students? So it is my appeal to them. But the future is very bright.
Vinnie, if I may have you conclude this session and talk about, what's your vision, what's Microsoft vision for technical education in India, and how do you see the future?
It is to empower every student on the planet to achieve more. And it's such a phenomenal time for industry, academia, government to come together and partner and make this shift happen. As Kirti shared, there is so much opportunity, so many resources that industry and government is willing to share. I think it's just the academic community needs to come forward and then partner and make things happen for this young generation, the students and leaders of tomorrow, and invest in faculty as well. I think if the faculty is powered with the right skill sets, there will be continuity and sustainability in this entire effort to bring about change. So we all need to make those right investments, students and teachers. And I think India is all set for great growth in the months and years to come.
No, great.
I'd just like to add that the investments we're talking about, government is also investing. The Future Skills Prime program is the government's investment to incentivize students for digital skills. So it's the national digital skilling platform. I don't think we can ask for more. So we just need people to come forward and use it. It's all there. It's beautifully laid out. Companies like Microsoft have contributed to it. The program that she referred to is creating 50,000 virtual internships. Wow. So, earlier internship was always a problem. How will I find it? But companies like Microsoft, companies like Cisco have come and created these thousands and thousands of virtual internships, which are what industry wants and what academia wants. So it's all there. Come and take it.
No, great insights, all of you. And that's something we at CyberMedia Research, through our research around T-schools, we have been doing it for the last many years. We have been witness to that transformation as well, across all of these years. What we have seen is really an impetus which has gained, whether it be at the educators level or the infrastructure which T-schools have as such, and this year itself, again, that's something which we are seeing in our research. And I'm very positive myself about the future. And having listened to all of you, I believe India's future is safe. The next generation, there is no barriers as such, for having access to quality technical education as such, whether it be someone in a tier 1 city or someone from an aspirational India, the access to education is the same for everyone everywhere. And that's what, innovation in education should be all about. So thank you so much, Dr. Jauhari, Kirti, Sundara Rajan, and Sahil Aggarwal. You have been really great with your insights and your time. Really appreciate you joining us today at this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, speakers, for this insightful discussion and words of wisdom that you have shared with us.